Alright guys, as promised, we leveled up the Ferrox, and this is what we got. Let's jump into it. So I did put 3 forma into it, and I'm going to say you really only need 2 forma. This is the build that I went with. I decided to go with high voltage and malignant force, because that's all you need. The corrosive damage is going to be enough to take out anything in any faction. It is a little low on the status side. So it only has 43% status. It's going to have a harder time versus higher level enemies. But for the mid to high range, it's going to do really good. In fact, I'll show you. Oh, I almost got all of them in one shot. Ah, I love the piercing damage this thing has. Alright, so those were level 55. Let's crank it up to... Let's do 85. Let's see how this does. It does wonderfully. I really like this weapon. It's a great weapon. Can't complain. Now, let's push it a little bit and go to level 100. And this is where you're going to start to see the damage fall off a little bit. Unless I get perfect headshots. I mean, wow. There we go. So, as you can see, it did do some corrosive damage. Unless I was getting headshots, it did struggle a little bit. And that's just to be expected with this kind of weapon. It's not a status dealer. It's meant to be very high burst with that incredible crit chance. So if you get that crit chance on top of the headshot, I mean, it's nailing down level 100s. Now let's just go absolutely crazy and show you just how far this thing is going to fall off. It may do well. It's all going to depend on how many headshots I can get. Yep, it is really starting to struggle. It's doing it, but it's taking its sweet time. And that's what you're going to have to deal with if you're fighting really high level. This weapon is not made for really high level. It's made to pretty much just completely obliterate anything under level 100. These guys are going to be what? Did I set them for 140? Yeah, I did. Alright, so these guys are level 145. Let's get some crit in here. I mean, even at 145, look, it just one-shot that guy. This thing is so strong. At 145, Ancient Healer, no problem. So really, it's just the really high armor enemies that you're going to have to deal with, and you're going to notice that damage fall off when you're at a level 100. So what can you do to deal with it? Okay. Well, I'll show you. Since this weapon has this nifty little feature, you can just go thump and use a different weapon. Something that's gonna just kind of eat through that armor real quick, you know? Hold them in place so that they don't completely obliterate you. And that's really where I think this weapon's diversity really shows. I mean, it's so good. You can pretty much blast anything with it. If you can't, just chuck it, hold them in place, use your secondary. I totally love this weapon. Now, there was something else that I wanted to try, and I typically don't do this unless it's a sniper weapon. But I wanted to try a gas build. Why? Because if you can get the proc, it's going to be pretty good. Let's do one more. Now, normally I wouldn't suggest anybody do a gas build on anything other than melee. But if you can get that gas proc off, which I don't think I have yet. Oh, there we go. It's pretty good. I mean, it just killed, what, 2 people without breaking a sweat. But I personally feel that the corrosive damage for just anything that you're going to be fighting, it's going to be good enough. So I can't really recommend a gas build. It does have the potential because it has the crit, but it just doesn't quite have the status. If it did, this thing would be pretty much, like, amazing. It's still pretty good, even without it. As you can see, it just doesn't get that gas status off as much as it should. If it did, all these guys would be totally dead. Well, they are totally dead, regardless. So, yeah. That's what I think. I think this weapon does really, really well at 2 format. Now, I did try something a little wonky. I wanted to see what it would be like with a heavy caliber. So I went ahead and threw it on. I wanted to keep all the crit. You could swap out hammer shot, but I wanted to retain a little bit of the status. And I just put on toxin. Let's see how it does. Now keep in mind this thing is going to shoot a lot slower. And for normal gameplay, I don't think this is going to be as fun as the other build. But at least you guys can see what kind of damage it can deliver. As you can see, it has a chance of missing quite a bit. And it's a lot slower. So I don't think having a heavy caliber on here is necessary. In fact, I would argue not to have one. You're going to want to try to get those headshots if you can. In real game situations, it's going to be hard, but since this thing has travel time, it's going to be hard enough. I mean, unless you have something that can hold them in place, I just don't recommend it. So for me, my recommendation, go with the 2 forma. What I decided to do for my forma is I just did 2 V polarities, and I added in the dash polarity just to kind of fiddle with it. You can do it either way you want to. You could put in a V polarity and a dash polarity, or you could do like I did and put in 2 Vs. It doesn't matter. Now, the only thing that's going to be different is there are rivens out there. I don't know what kind of riven you're going to get, but whatever one you do, whether it's a V, a D, a dash, you'll have to adjust to fit that into your build. And if I could recommend anything, I would say go for crit damage. You can get more crit chance. That extra damage from the heavy caliber, 165% damage, It really shows. So anything over plus 100 damage is going to be great. Extra multi-shot is going to be great. I'm really excited to see what kind of Riven I can get for this. And if I get one, I'll do some testings for it. Because this thing is pretty much, I mean, without a Riven, it's really good. And I've had a lot of fun with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. And I'll see you next time.